And we are back.
We are back. We are back, Bumble Bitches.
Episode 44 of the To Be Better podcast, season 2.
Season 2, episode 44.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It is. We're almost at the end of year 2. I apologize for those of you who heard the clapping. I'm syncing audio and stuff, and I forgot to do it before we hit the go live button. So I had to unmute the mic to clap and then mute it again. So you guys heard that. Sounded like there was some booty smacking against the belly.
That's funny.
I asked the Death Star earlier if there is update emails, and if so, where are they? Because I would like to do updates. Since I found the podcast, blah blah blah. We haven't figured this out yet, blah blah blah. Because that would be pretty gangster. So, question for you.
Question from Mom.
Somebody asked me on the main account on TikTok this morning. Okay, 2 things. One, before I get to that, I would like to find somebody that's a part of our Patreon or Discord and pay them to scour our TikTok comments for questions and do like a $50 for 50 questions thing.
Okay.
And I'll give you $50 to just go through the last, I don't know, however many things and find good questions that we can make an episode out of. And we can just do a 50 questions from TikTok episode.
That's a good idea.
So if you guys are interested in that, tell Zach. That way I'm not getting messages. The other thing is because of that comment that came through today, it made me think of that.
Okay.
Somebody asked, I'm just going to read it. Okay. This is one of those things that is going to be a real no duh moment.
Is it going to be a what?
Real no duh moment
duh.
when we actually answer the question.
Okay.
But the person wrote, my birthday is next week and I'm afraid my partner has forgotten because he hasn't said he took any time off work or anything like that.
Okay, hang on. So he hasn't taken any time off of work?
Hasn't said he hasn't taken time off work.
And her birthday.
That's the preface of the birthday.
Okay. And her birthday's next week.
This would be my first birthday with him. So they're new.
Okay.
Less than a year, obviously.
Okay.
Do I say something to him or let it play out? My birthday every year is a big deal for me, but I don't like being selfish. Thanks in advance.
Nah, it's my birthday week. Let's go. You don't have to be extravagant as me, but just know that if you wake up and there's birthday streamers hanging from the ceiling, I go hard.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is your birthday?
To me, 0. In the negatives.
You just said it's a birthday week.
No, for her.
Right, we're talking about peaches.
Oh, for me? I don't care about my birthday.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is my birthday?
Negative.
Yeah, negative.
Yeah.
Negative. I don't even want people to know when my birthday is.
Right.
Because the happy birthday, unless like I love you as a person, means fucking nothing to me.
Yeah.
Because you're obligated to say it.
Just makes me uncomfortable.
Right. This is no different than somebody that you see at the store that you haven't talked to in 10 years. They're like, oh, hey, Merry Christmas. I'm like, hey, fuck off.
We don't talk to each other out of school, guys.
Right. So knowing that this is one of those things where this chick is super into her birthday.
Right.
And most men are super not into their birthdays. Because that's, men don't get good gifts. We kind of buy the shit that we want and we live our own lives. Why would you not simply have a conversation about how important your birthday is? Especially if you're a year or under into a relationship and the person has never got to experience a birthday with you. If you have not explained to them how important it is that your birthday makes you feel special and that that's the only time your family's ever made you feel loved or whatever the case may be.
Right.
How do you expect them to fulfill that need if you haven't said shit? Are we doing the psychic thing again? This is the birthday you're looking for? No? Are we not doing that? Are we actually going to have expectations where we communicate and talk to each other? Because that's how things get resolved, right?
Correct.
So if birthdays are super important,
we talk about it.
Probably convey that.
Right.
Okay.
You want to know what I thought of?
Me?
Always. Make me nervous. Oh my God. I didn't know it was possible to get goosebumps on my armpits. So for me, the way that I would convey that is I bought us tickets to the Bahamas for my birthday. You better clear out your schedule, just so you know.
In advance.
In advance, right. But that is our relationship. We travel for our birthday. Experiences are the most meaningful things to us. So
memories.
That would have been my example of how to. This is our first birthday. Well, my first birthday. But we're celebrating together, so this is our day. Just a surprise. This is going to be a regular thing. Talk to your boss.
What was that phrase? Unspoken expectations are premeditated disappointments. I think it was the quote. Unspoken
Bet we
expectations
could Google it.
are premeditated failures or something like that. Somebody's going to correct it. I don't remember the exact quote, but that shit lives rent free in my head, and it's always wrong every time. So the point of it is just don't fucking have expectations that aren't discussed. People are asking about the necklace in the chat. It is a mala bead necklace. It's made of jade stone. It is not for prayer beads. If you guys remember the episode that we did with Matt Vincent, Matt had a men's retreat not too long ago, and one of the clips that I saw had him going over every one of the mala beads. There's a gnat in here. Every one of the mala beads saying something that he's grateful for. And he was doing it out loud.
I like that.
So I'm going to start wearing this as a daily reminder to be grateful for the things that are in my life.
Okay.
Because I've had a really shitty life and my life is super fucking dope now. And I don't want to have that negative thought process to anything. So to look at this and hold it, I can just, every time I touch it or I see it or I think about it, it'll make me, hey, you should say something that you're grateful for. And it'll create a attitude of gratitude for me. So.
She was whining. She misses me. There you go. You can be over there. All right. So just give me one moment. I'm going to order some off of Amazon because I need that.
Zach said, unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments.
Ooh, yeah. That
was the phrase.
That was a good
put that
play
on a shirt.
I like yours, though. The way that you said that.
I don't remember what I said, so.
Premeditated disappointments.
Yeah.
Mala beads.
I'm going to quickly plug Chris out here putting some gratitude in his attitude merch plug. Yeah, I am, guys. I made a video on the Voice of the Broken episode the other day talking about how it's real fucking easy to be like, it could be worse. How's life? Oh, it could be worse. You know, and you get the people who are like living the dream, and that's the way of saying fuck off, my life sucks, right?
I'm here.
But instead of saying that, you know, when people ask me how things are going, oh, here we go. Perfect example. My biological father called me for the first time on my birthday, I think ever, the other night. And when he did, he asked me how things were going. And I got to actually tell him what was going on in my life. And everything that I hit him with was a positive. I didn't hit him with a single negative. And granted, there are things that I could, you know, whine and cry about. Hurricanes.
Your back hurting.
My back's fucked up. You know, I don't have a dog yet, Dakota. Right? Like... There are things that I could be fucking complaining about. What's the point in that? I'd rather speak positivity into the universe and let, you know, I'm grateful for the life that I'm living right now. And I get it one shot at it. So if I wanted things to change, I would fucking actively change them versus just trying to get about, I guess. So for everybody that's new to what we're doing, we are reading chats every once in a while as we look over here because we have a TV pulled up that's got all the chat from our Patreon community. Because we record our To Be Better podcast episodes live on Patreon so that we can interact with people who are fans of the show. You guys get a little bit more of life that the rest of the world doesn't because certain conversations absolutely get cut out of here. Got to keep it PG-13 for the viewers that are listening and watching on other platforms.
Apparently they get outfits of the day now, too.
Yeah, apparently that's now a thing as well. Patreon also gets a whole lot of other stuff. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I highly suggest that you guys go over and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/tobebetter. It is the best way to support what we're doing. The second best thing to do is if you enjoy the content that we make, to share it. Please, 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 please share the content. Even if you never want to give us a dime to support us financially, sharing the content means just as much as a $100 tier subscription on Patreon if you're doing it consistently. Sharing the content is how we continue to grow the channel, and we highly, highly appreciate that. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment, all that fun YouTube shit. And let's jump into some emails. Yeah. Okay, so this is an update. Time of transition is what it's called. And the editor's note said, for context, this emailer's email was read live for Patreon on Monday, September 16th. She made a comment that being submissive to your partner made you small based on what she had seen with a person from her own life. This is a 6-page email.
Okay.
Have at it, woman.
All right, so it says, good morning. Before I really start this email, I want to apologize for my comment about being submissive, making someone small. It was not my intention at all to be harmful or insulting, to be hurtful or insulting. Okay, so I remember this.
Were we insulted?
I felt insulted by proxy of the statement because of how she thought about submission.
Okay.
Because the statement she made was something along the lines of, I want to be submissive, but I don't want to be
A doormat.
not a direct quote, but inferior because of it.
Right. I actually think the doormat phrase was used. Like I vaguely remember
I
this
don't
as well.
recall what it was specifically, but I was insulted by proxy of the thinking because if you elaborate on that thought process, if you don't believe that about just you and you believe that about every woman who is submissive in her marriage, yeah, I'm offended by that statement.
Okay.
It wasn't like
It was
me clutching my pearls
Right.
and
You
how
don't-
dare you. It was just...
You don't think it was an intentional fuck you though, do you?
No, I don't think
Okay.
it was an intentional fuck you.
I think that's the difference between needing to apologize and needing to understand.
Right.
Because I think this speaks to living with intent. If you have some intentional disrespect,
Say some shit on purpose to hurt someone's feelings.
that requires an apology.
Right.
An acknowledgement of actions and changed behavior goes so much further anyways. But if you're having an honest discussion and you're doing it from a place of love and trying to understand, there's no need to apologize. Even if somebody does get offended, you're not
Right.
intentionally trying to fucking aggravate somebody. You're trying to understand and trying to have a conversation that's going to improve lives. I don't feel like an apology was necessary.
I agree.
Okay.
Not every situation of somebody's feelings being hurt deserves an apology from you.
Right. My feelings being hurt is a me problem.
Right.
Okay.
An apology is forgiveness, right? Like you are seeking forgiveness for something. And forgiveness is a gift. If somebody is abusing their gift of forgiveness, right? And who is forgiveness for? Class? Are you ready? Forgiveness is for us, not for them.
Right.
Okay, so if we are going to a person and saying, I'm sorry, we are seeking to make amends so that they can find peace within themselves to move on,
Yeah.
right? If they're making you feel like you've done something wrong to transgress them, you're not apologizing for the actions. The changed action is the apology. Does all of that make sense?
It does. I'm going to take it a step further, though, and say that in terms of me personally, unless you are truly trying to repent, I don't want an apology.
Right. Acknowledge it. Say, hey, I know I did that and I was fucked up.
Right. Right. I'm aware that this happened. Just know that I'm working on those things. Like I don't want people to be sorry around me.
Yeah.
I want my thought processes to be challenged. I want to grow and evolve, and in order to do that, sometimes hard conversations have to happen.
Right.
But if you've crossed me and there's been a transgression, there needs to be repentance.
Yes.
And that's intent. It's intentional. You did that shit on purpose. Okay.
Okay. When I think of submission in a marriage, I see it as Chris described it: no decision making and no responsibility, which leads to becoming a doormat.
The word was
which
doormat.
leads to becoming a doormat,
Okay.
like my mother-in-law.
Hang on one second. I want to see if there's. Okay.
Okay, so this is her thought process of it. To me, she, meaning the mother-in-law, has made herself become so small to compared blah 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 blah. Look at me adding words. Cut that. To me, she, meaning the mother-in-law, has made herself become so small compared to how she described herself before becoming a stay-at-home mom. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. With that sentence that you just said, the changing variable of her becoming small was not the submission in her marriage, it was becoming a stay-at-home mom. Meaning she lost herself as a mother and not as a wife.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the marriage or the submission. That's the conclusion that I'm drawing. Not meaning that I'm right.
Well, she said making no decision making and no responsibility. I vaguely remember this email. And
Okay.
The person, the mother-in-law in question was somebody who literally just lived life behind the scenes. And the way that it was described in that email made the woman seem like she was nothing more than a house servant.
Like a background character of her own life.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And that's how I took that.
Yeah.
Okay. But that doesn't speak to being a
Right.
traditional wife or submission. That speaks
Right.
to an individual's relationship in that scenario.
Including with the person's self.
Right.
The relationship that you have with yourself is a very important one. That's going to be a big focus on this next quarter for the private women's group, the relationship with yourself.
Okay.
So I agree with everything that you just said. I don't want to just breeze past that and
Real quick, Iggy, who we played video games with yesterday, wants to know where your iPad is.
why?
She actually said, does Peach not read from her iPad anymore? That iPad needs to be brought back to the studio and left here.
Then what am I going to use for D&D?
I don't know.
I need
We may not even be playing D&D at home anymore moving soon. So
I need a big enough bag outside of my purse that's not bulky that I can carry things around with organized.
we just need a small briefcase. Like
I have
satchel.
one.
I know you do.
I totally forgot about that guy sitting right next to my sewing machine.
You know that you and I now we both share the backpack addiction. That
They're so
addiction
nice.
has so rubbed off on you because you're like, I need this bag. And I'm like, no, you don't. We have hundreds of bags at the house.
I like looking at them. I like feeling them. I like putting stuff in them.
It's the idea of the backpack. I buy them going, oh man, I can organize and fit so much shit in here. But I'm also a creature of habit.
Yeah.
And I like my same 3 or 4 backpacks. And when they're broken or destroyed, I'm fucked.
Right.
Because they don't make them anymore. Like they cycle through.
You should buy them like 2 or 3.
Yeah. I have the Oakley bags. I've got 6 of them.
You think that would satiate that need for backpacks to buy them in 2 or 3 gig?
Nope, because it's the dream of the backpack. It's no different than buying an overlanding or an adventure car.
yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's the idea of what we could do with this shit versus
Yeah.
actually utilizing it. Because like I have my daily carry bag that carries all of my shit in that chest sling, but it's bulky as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I carry it like a duffel bag because I'm not
too.
wearing the body sling unless we're in public. And then I have to because in the event that I need to quickly open it.
Anyway, I started blasting.
That needs to be there. Let's get back to this because we just side railed really hard.
I have, before we get back into that, I'm so sorry I have to say this. I have become such everybody in my life, like not just in related to the podcast, like even my friends asking me questions. That's like a need to know basis shit. Why are you asking me this question before I answer it?
Why are you asking all them questions?
Asking all these questions.
Assuming? This really is our life, guys. Anybody that's ever spent any time with us knows that this is just the stupidity that we do.
This is it.
All right, back to the
All right,
email.
back into it. I can't remember if I said this or not. So in regards to the email and what she just said about the mother-in-law becoming a stay-at-home mom, and she made herself become so small. I'm just going to reread the sentence. To me, she has made herself become so small compared to how she described herself before becoming a stay-at-home mom. So we're talking about submission, and I see the no decision making and the no responsibility leading to becoming a doormat. I can see where the submission becoming extreme in that leads to it, right? A stay-at-home mom is a different level and separate from the submission of a marriage. And those two things affect somebody separately. Why are you giggling? What did somebody say? What are you fuckers over here doing?
It's the fucking song is still playing in my head, and I've been trying to quell it, and I look over at the chat and like, oh, really? That's how you feel? And now it's fucking going even harder, and I can't make it stop. So I looked over trying to focus on you, and all I can see is those dudes bouncing in the car. Assuming? Fucking. Let's do this. You guys are going bye-bye for a minute. I can't with you guys.
You'll see this when it gets played back, but I was like, what are you smirking at? I looked at you and then I immediately looked at the chat.
Yeah.
All of you are in trouble right now. What's happening? Because you just told me to get focused back on the email.
All right. Finish your thought process.
It doesn't matter. It's gone.
Okay.
We're moving on.
But before we move on, there's a word that is in that sentence that I don't want to overlook. To me, she has made herself become so small compared to how she described herself before becoming a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. So she's comparing previous life to this life. Seasons change. You can't compare summer to
yeah.
winter. Those are two very different seasons in your existence.
Right. And there's a beauty in both, even though there's death in both.
Right. Absolutely. So comparing who you used to be to who you are now means that you made a decision somewhere to change. And you can make a decision again to change into this next season of your life. You shouldn't be comparing your life now to the life that you used to have, because that's the past. It's gone. We don't go, well, last summer, unless we're talking about vacations. If you're planting a garden and you're looking at your planting and what you've got to do for spring, and your seasons change, so do your crops. Mm-hmm. You're looking at, okay, well, this year we need to go and start planting for spring during the wintertime. I want to plant this, and this. Last year, those crops didn't do so well, so maybe we need to make some changes, but we're not going back to last year.
Right.
Reminiscing about last year doesn't do things. Good to have memories. Love having memories. We have a really good fucking crop. We can brag about that shit, because that year 2001 was amazing. We had the best fucking corn ever. Shit was like this big. Pumpkin, squash, the whole nine. I don't even know that's the thing. I'm making shit up now at this point. But
No, you're doing great.
that's what it comes down to. So
Right.
you can compare your life and try to find semblance and ways to improve. But that's the goal, is to find ways to improve, not to complain about what was and what you've got now. You should be working on that change. So I got really hung up on that compared. If I'm comparing my life then to my life now, my life is dope as fuck. And if my life wasn't, stop it, because I'm trying to, fucker. If my life wasn't dope as fuck right now, and I was comparing it to how great my life used to be, and I was doing absolutely nothing to change it to become better, I'm the problem. It's me. Hello, I'm the problem. It's me. Okay, what are you giggling at? Are they doing? Is the chat still?
It's a fucking chat. Because someone said I pay my own rent. I can't be grounded. And I was gonna be like, Carrie, hit the timeout screen.
That's funny.
I'm gonna create something fucking funny because of all of this now. Back into the email. Was that the end of your thought?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Additionally,
my mom always painted the picture of a housewife as meek and small, bending her will to her husband. After experiencing the joy of staying home, I'm having to rewrite all my previous thoughts on the matter. I obviously have a lot more work to do on that point. Oh, man, okay.
hold on. 1 second.
Okay. Excuse me.
Do you know what meek stands for?
Meek.
Yep.
Sheepish.
Quiet, gentle, and easily imposed on. Submissive. I'm gonna get religious for you guys for a minute. Everybody knows the phrase, the meek will inherit the earth. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean the soft-spoken, the quiet. It means those who submit to God. So the meek will inherit the earth. That's what that means. When, by definition, those who serve God will inherit the earth. To be a housewife and to view yourself as meek, you are basically saying that you're submissive. You're just using a term that society has placed a negative connotation on. Connotation. I one of those words is right. We'll go with that.
Okay.
But the idea of something being meek, being a problem, being quiet and reserved and submissive, if that meek is the word that you're choosing to use, there's no negative undertone to that unless you're putting it there. Mm-hmm. And that's a choice. I'm getting hung up on words today, apparently.
I'm here for it.
Okay.
Continuing on.
Yep.
You gotta scroll down, babe.
Damn, you finished all that while I was looking for the word meek?
Now, to the points you made. You called me out on multiple occasions, and it was both hurtful and very much needed. My heart hurt, not really my feelings. I don't understand the difference between the two.
Well, let's see.
Okay. I ended up watching the episode twice. The first time I got emotional, talked with my husband, and worked through some stuff. Okay, that's dope.
It means you got a teammate.
Right.
It's a win.
Yeah. That's dope. Okay. The second time, I was able to listen with a rational brain for growth opportunities. I love that. We have had so many people listen to what we have to say and go fuck them.
Right. Right. But the ones who are ready for growth go, why am I triggered?
Right.
And then they deep dive.
Why is this hurting my feelings?
And then they join our Patreon and become part of our community.
Even if we're wrong, you thinking about, well, they're wrong and now I'm angry about it. Okay, well, what does right look like?
Right.
Right? Because now you're thinking of different things because we just backed you into a corner of thoughts that you have to battle your way through. And it'll lead you to do thought processes to further understand you and your life.
Which is growth.
It is growth. I saw the TV trays over there and I want to build mini things now.
This next little bit's going to get heavy.
Okay, continuing on. I have always thought my childhood didn't really hold sway over me because it happened so long ago. I'm almost 29, so I guess it's not that long ago. When you think about it, you were still young enough to where half your life ago was childhood.
15.
Right. It really wasn't that long ago. When you are 40, half of your life ago was 20. I can still see and understand things from half of your lifetime ago affecting you, especially if you're starting to work through it now after decades of repressing it.
Yeah. That's why I said it was going to get heavy.
Right.
Because most of us do just simply repress.
Yeah.
You remember, I'm not going to give any for instances, but everybody has that one thing that you can wake up in the middle of the night from. Your brain will be going from a dream that you had, and you will relive a moment that you had as a child where you were embarrassed, hurt, whatever. And it'll be there, and you'll lose sleep over that shit. It's now 3 o'clock in the morning. I guess my fucking day is starting because I've laid here for over an hour replaying that shit over and over and over again.
Here we go.
Well, when you start going through the acceptance phase and you start going through therapy and the healing process and you're doing your shadow work, those scabs get ripped off. It's fucking raw skin again.
And it hurts.
And it's going to be uncomfortable as a motherfucker.
And it's
you're like
irritated.
sand between fat thighs at the beach.
And it's itchy. And it's friction.
You're going to have a bad day.
I don't want to be in my skin anymore.
Right. But that shit is temporary. Sometimes that abrasiveness
Everything heals.
rubs off all that old bullshit so that that new skin can form.
Right. Healthier skin can form.
Yeah.
Tougher skin can form. That's what scars are.
Yeah. It's exactly what scars are. Yeah. Those two heal though.
Yeah. From the crudes too. Every time we talk about scars. In Crudes 2, Eep tells Dawn about all of her scars, and Dawn's like, oh, I don't have any scars because my parents don't let me go outside of the fence or the wall. And they go outside the wall, a bee pierces her hands, it's massive, and she's high from the poison of the bee sting. And she's hiding her hand from her parents so they don't find out that she broke a rule and all these kinds of things. And everybody gets into an argument and she shows them her hand and they're panicking. And she was like, her mom's like, oh my God, Dawn, what happened to you? And her daughter's like, I got scars. And now every time we talk about scars, that plays in my mind and I get super stoked that I have scars.
You know what I took away from that scene?
What's that?
That girl was so afraid of her parents' disapproval that she didn't tell them the important things.
Right.
Because had that been a venomous bite or a poisonous something that could have killed her, she would have died from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, her mom was they had a panic cubby with no holes in it for oxygen because her mom was scared of snakes getting in.
Crazy.
Yeah. All right, continuing on. The fact that Peach can make inferences about my past just from my email shows me that it very much does hold sway. I think this is going to be the big thing I try to work through in therapy. I went to my first appointment this week. Oh. Round of snapping, everybody. It's less aggressive than clapping. We love therapy around here.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about going to therapy, check out BetterHelp. Let them know To Be Better sent you, and you'll get a discount.
Yeah, it's betterhelp.com/to be better to save 10%.
I knew one of us would have that.
We really got to stop plugging them for free so damn much. Yep. She's a patient.
I am, yeah. I use BetterHelp.
It's working for you. it's made a lot of this shit from the podcast a whole lot lighter for you.
Have you noticed a difference in
Yes.
me?
Yep. I'm Patreon can get this, and if you're comfortable with it, we can leave it in for the rest of the world. There have been times where you have been in tears over this.
Yeah.
And it's not happy Peaches tears. Like this shit.
It's mental breakdown.
Right. And there are things that I know for a fact that I could say right now that would trigger crying in you from some of the emails. Like it's just not. And this is also why you haven't done the female voice of the broken yet. And that's coming.
It is.
But it's going to be on a much smaller scale because you have to shed that. You can't carry it like that. And
Too much of an empath.
I can show compassion and empathize with people. I'm not willing to wear somebody else's clothing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not willing to wear their cape of problems. So when I read the emails and I'm able to give advice, once that email's over, it's gone. I'm compartmentalizing my day.
You're more of a rock, and I'm more of like a piece of coral that absorbs color.
I'm not going to make a Walking Dead joke. I'm not going to make a Walking Dead joke.
I need you to because I don't understand how
The
that
whole coral thing.
coral.
Moving on.
Okay. Can we tell them the name that we picked for the women's version? Sure. Reconstructing the Divine.
You want to tell them how we came about that? Oh, wait. Are you good with all of that staying in there? So that Carrie doesn't have to go back and try to figure out if she's cutting that out for Patreon only about the crying and everything?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to tell them how we came up with that conversation this morning?
Like the full extent?
No. Guys, when I tell you that my wife loves me so much, she would totally sit in my lap while I was dropping a deuce.
I would.
And if the toilet could handle it, we'd be just in there like Santa having a conversation.
Yeah, so you would be facing away from the toilet, and I'd be sitting on your lap facing you with my legs like...
Dangling.
Yeah, kind of like sitting on a horse.
That has to be cut.
What? I don't understand.
Because people don't need it. That's just too much. That's right up there. Is it weird that I'm okay with having conversations about licking an asshole, but having conversations about taking a poop and you sit in my lap is it appropriate?
You really, really did talk about just straight eating ass on a dinner table, like. Oh my God! Can you get the camera off of me, please? Thank you. I want the conversation to stay in. I'm petitioning. If you can talk about eating ass, I can talk about sitting on your lap on the toilet.
All right, we'll leave it. Aloha said,
cough.
I ask my husband all the time if we can do that. Still a no. I mean, I guess we all have our own boundaries.
Okay, continuing on. Can you scroll back up just a smidgen? Because she said that I was able to pretty much predict some things from her childhood, the way that her email was written. The human experience is not a very vast one, guys. Abusers repeat the same cycles. People just have little fine tunes that are specific to them. Why are you squinting like that?
I was hyper fixating on what you're talking about.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And making sure this was far enough away that people couldn't hear me chew.
Gotcha.
Because that shit triggers the fuck out of me.
Right.
I legit get mad at myself for hearing myself chew.
I get that. Victims, in my mind, if victims do not heal, they inevitably become abusers. And it becomes a survival tactic.
That's not true. It is, but it's not. Hang on.
Okay, I said if they don't heal.
Okay. I'll come back to it. You keep going.
Okay.
I have one bite left.
Does that negate what you were just going to say?
I'm going to elaborate.
Okay.
If they don't heal, they become abusers. Is what you said.
Right. As a survival tactic.
Okay.
Because they don't know another way to live their life. They're just stuck in that survival mode, and then that survival becomes abusive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So those statistics are, this conversation comes from people who have been abused,
Right.
raped, physically beaten, whatever. Mm-hmm. The people who grow up to do those things were almost always somebody who was raped or abused.
Right.
However, the people who went through that do not always grow up to do those things. Because if you were abused and everyone who was abused grows up to become abusers, everyone is going to be abused.
Right.
Right. So it's important to just state that, because people who have experienced horrible shit will grow up and go, I don't want anyone to ever experience what I went through.
And they become protectors.
Right.
Right. But that's through healing.
Not always.
I don't believe somebody who is still caught in super chaotic thought processes can be an effective protector. Right? If they're still having panic attacks and mental breakdowns and are easily triggered and are easily set off, if you are in a situation of protecting children and a crisis happens, can the children be protected? Yes, but will you be a fallout of some sort of traumatic event because you are also under pressure but can't handle it?
Right.
Probably.
Well, see, that's a whole different discussion too. There was somebody sent me a video the other day of a man, Dakota did actually,
Okay.
of a man who saw they were on like little Groms
Right.
riding around, and he saw a man beating a woman at a stoplight,
I saw that.
and he pulled his weapon on him, and he had his wife and his kid with him.
Right.
And during that situation, he's like, I need you to leave.
Right.
Take her out of here.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he's like, I'm sorry, you saw that. The little girl was like that. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want you, I don't want you to feel scared of me. I don't want you to feel unsafe, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
That is a traumatic experience for a child. Had that
Right.
happened in front of one of our kids, that's a side of dad or pops that they've never seen before. I don't want my
Right.
kids to ever see that side of me, ever.
Right.
But I will be the protector. And sometimes
Right.
that's going to come from a place of childhood trauma that's not healed yet.
Right.
So what you just said, if I became that motherfucker in front of the kids, the fallout of that is exactly what you were just talking about.
No, it's not.
It is. You just
It's not,
You just
babe.
said that it would become more traumatic to the people who are not healed yet.
Right. You're healed enough to be able to navigate that. If somebody's not healed and they're put in a situation where they have to pull a firearm like that and they are trigger happy and shoot out of panic, that's far more traumatizing. Just say, hey, dude, back the fuck up. I have my thing on me.
Right.
Right? What I'm talking about is people who have zero regulation. They have that strong
We're
want to
having
defend.
two different conversations.
Okay. Then we are having two different conversations because what you just spoke on is not what I'm speaking on.
Okay.
Okay.
That little girl could have been traumatized in that situation.
Right.
The difference is he was capable enough to have the conversations afterwards that
Right.
did not traumatize that little girl.
Right. He's healed enough for that.
But if he wasn't,
Right.
which is speaking what you're talking about, and he laid that motherfucker out or went above and beyond, that little girl would have been traumatized. That's exactly what you were just talking about. I was agreeing with you and giving a for instance.
Okay.
Same conversation. And then it became not the same conversation.
Right. Because I don't view that as an unhealed or I don't know how I want to phrase this because there are mentally ill people who function. We are mentally ill and we function. Right? There are people who have unchecked mental illness maybe. Like they don't regulate themselves. They have nobody in their life caring to help them regulate themselves. They are just the Tasmanian devil going around the world and they have good intentions. That's what I'm talking about.
So was I.
Okay.
Talking about passing that trauma down because they're not healed.
Yeah. I don't remember how we got into that topic.
I don't either.
Continuing on. The two key takeaways I got from your response video to my email are A, I need to work on my communication, and B, I need to process my mommy issues and past. Oh, I remember that. I challenged her and I was like, maybe you don't have daddy issues, maybe you have mommy issues.
Yep.
Yeah. A, communication. I have been working very hard the past 3 years on my communication. When I first got married, I was so scared, again, all me. He never did anything to make me feel this way. To voice, okay, so this was in parentheses. So I was so scared to voice unhappiness or cause conflict that I would bottle up everything. I'd think it was small, insignificant, and that it didn't really matter. So when something bothered me, I would remain quiet. Side note, this is also what my mother-in-law does and tells me about.
The small things become giant snowballs, avalanches.
Yeah.
Yep. And it compounds. It's like a rock Karen. The more you stack up there, eventually that shit's going to come crashing down. And those little things are going to seem like a lot when that shit jingles over. Like,
Yeah, rocks in a pile are not a stable thing. I had never thought of it as an act of omission and therefore lying to my husband. That was an eye-opener. Yeah, I also think this is when we talked about the gentle reminders and that inner dialogue I had with myself of he didn't answer the phone with like a hey pet name.
right.
Tell him, no, don't tell him. But if you don't tell him, you're kind of lying because it bothers you.
Yeah.
I think that was that
That
episode.
was the conversation.
Yeah.
It was. Yep.
It was so bad in the beginning that when my husband and I would have heated discussions, I would physically go mute, completely unable to speak. That sounds like a trauma response.
It is. Yep. It's you trying to be safe.
That caused problems because he thought I was giving him the cold shoulder by running away and not speaking, when in reality, she was trying to calm herself down. Once he understood, he was super patient and he communicated with me writing things down until my voice came back. I love that.
We should talk about the journal thing. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Somebody had once said in one of the emails that we got that they have a conflict journal that stays on one specific counter in the house. When somebody's got a problem, they take the journal and they write in it and then they put it back. And the other person they have a problem, hard time speaking to, or a hard time speaking to, brain put that sentence together
Right.
incorrectly. They would take the journal, read it, respond, and put it back. And they were basically passing notes. Now, I normally would say do not have conversations that way because you're removing a whole lot of the communication, body language, tone, inflection. But if this is what has to happen to open a dialogue, it's a fucking start. And that is so much better than bottling things up because at least
Right.
you're getting it out. And when you write things down, it's a lot different than typing because the mistakes are more prevalent. You have to scribble and cross and like you have to be a lot more intent with what you're writing versus word vomit typing. Yeah.
All right, continuing on. I was able to work through this when I learned about I statements. It still takes me a second to calm myself down enough to speak, but now I have the tools to discuss my feelings. Thank God my husband is a patient man. I will continue to work on my communication skills. Your point about my keeping everything in and not reminding my husband about the code word and how I had a failed expectation in regards to the husband, him not remembering, due to lack of communication and not a small broken trust heard. I love that.
I'm curious how that conversation went between the two of you.
I bet it was a very emotional one.
I would imagine that if he's patient, like she says he is, and he's a good man, that he probably apologized. Like, look, I totally forgot about that. I'm sorry, whatever.
B, my past. Since I had my daughter in the past year, my childhood seems to rear its ugly head. Oh, that's not going to stop. That is
No,
not going
it's
to
not.
stop.
You still go through that.
I still go through that. I'm going to continue to go through that. My daughter, our daughter, is going to approach the age where I confided in somebody I was supposed to trust in that I was being raped by a boyfriend. And it's really going to hit me like how small I was at that age.
Yeah.
And how neglected I was when I came forward with that. And that's something that I think about now and I try to process. But it's not going to fully hit me until she's 15. It's always, that journey is not going to stop. So I would highly recommend constantly seeking out new ways to cope and learn acceptance. Accepting that not only that children get failed in their childhood, but that I was failed in my own childhood was a really hard pill to swallow. Because even now, I want my parents to be superheroes. I'm not going to cry. Just be prepared for that. It is going to continue to rear its ugly head. Every failure is going to become very prevalent, especially as a child approaches an age. And don't let that affect their childhood. Do you have any final thoughts on that? Okay. I don't remember much of it. Continuing on into the email. I don't remember much of it, but when I do have a memory that shakes me, I find myself doing what Peach suggested. Going to my husband, telling him and crying about it. I even broke down just relaying some of Peach's insights to him from the video. I didn't realize how much I had internalized from my mom, who was a single mom. Whether she outright taught me or it's things I picked up growing up, there are a lot of beliefs about marriage and home life that I am having to rewrite for myself. I think this is just going to be a long process that I must acknowledge.
Yeah, this speaks on the whole. You're not a child anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You the 6-year-old in you is safe.
Yeah.
We talk about this shit all the time because of how failed I was as a kid. Like, I'm not a fucking kid anymore. And like, I'm gonna touch on the single mom thing too a little bit. You are not a single mom.
No.
You got me. Dad's still a co-parent. Like, there's a whole bunch of people. We have a small village raising these children.
Yeah, the kids have a village.
But there are days where one of us has to interrupt each other. Hey, let's try this instead. This isn't working. I can tell you're getting elevated. I said to you the other day, like, I'm super frustrated right now. And like, I don't want to discipline from frustration. So I'm bowing the fuck out. I'm going to go to the studio and play video games for a couple hours. And I left.
Yeah.
Because I was getting super elevated because I couldn't. You can't make somebody have an understanding of something that you can't get on their level with.
You can't make them care about it either.
Right. And it started off as a minor annoyance.
Right.
And it started off as an annoyance that they don't understand.
Right. This isn't playtime.
And then I'm starting to get mad at myself because I can't find a way to articulate to a fucking 6-year-old. Like, 44 years old, how come I can't talk to a 6-year-old? Like
yeah.
But his understanding and my understanding are so vastly different that I can't get on that level.
You also don't remember what it's like to have that dummied down,
Right.
limited understanding.
Right. So sometimes it's better to tag team.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm feeling beat up. I almost got pinned. I need you to come do the job.
Yeah.
We're going to win this championship belt. Let's go. There's nothing wrong with that.
I also called you the other day having a breakdown on the phone, asking you to come home early.
Yeah, full on tears.
Like.
But that's the importance of a dual parent household.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say mother and father. I'm saying
Just
dual
dual.
parent. You need to tag team somebody in every once in a while. And it needs to be, I'm so fucking emotional and overwhelmed right now that I need somebody who's not in this mindset to step in.
And if you don't have a second parent, it could be your best friend. It could be your sister,
Right.
brother, cousins,
Need a
grandparents.
babysitter for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continuing on. At the end of the video, Chris asked me what submission looked like for me. At the time I wrote the email, it looked like my mother-in-law, and that's where I was having a disconnect. When Peach said this was my chance to break the mold and create a new version of myself, it got me thinking, why do I really need to change much? I was still having anxiety about giving control to my husband, but I needed to pinpoint why. After all, I wasn't having to completely alter my personality. After talking with him at length, we figured it out. It was giving him final say, specifically over where we lived. This might sound weird, but hear me out. I grew up in not so great places, then oversaw my own life when I joined the army and decided where I would go. When my husband and I got married, we had to balance 2 military careers, and picking where to live was super deep discussion that we both had equal say in. Now, with me leaving active duty, he should get final say because it's his career we are moving to focus on. Where my anxiety stems from is giving up my say in the matter, even though I know he will take my thoughts into consideration.
She said no, not believe, by the way.
What?
I know he will take my thoughts into consideration. Not I believe or I hope.
Oh.
No.
What, I said believe?
No. She said I know.
Oh, okay.
I know he will.
Right.
So that's
It's a fact.
definitive.
It's
right.
a fact to her.
Right.
Sky's blue and her husband thinks about her opinions.
Right. That matters.
Yeah. Continuing on. I hear my mom in the back of my mind saying, there is no such thing as a man of the house. And my younger self raging against the idea of a man getting the final say because he's the man of the house.
So your mom had a failed situation.
Or multiple situations.
How about your mom fucked her life up?
Yeah.
Because we take accountability here.
Yeah. And she was blaming men.
And she's shitting on other people where she's not taking accountability because she couldn't find a good one and she settled and it destroyed her life. And she's passing that on to you. And anybody that's in that situation that believes all that toxic bullshit, you are going to by proxy destroy your life because of other people's shortcomings.
Right. I'm good on that.
Live your life. In hiking, they have a term that's hike your own hike.
Yeah.
And hike your own hike means it doesn't matter if you go fast. It doesn't matter if you go slow. It doesn't matter if you stop and take pictures. It doesn't matter if you only hike for an hour a day. The goal is the journey, and your journey needs to be yours. Hike your own hike. If there are people out there trying to set speed records on the Appalachian Trail and fucking no backpacks and no gear, and they're leapfrogging and meeting people to eat and do their thing so that they can do it, and fucking somebody hiked the Appalachian Trail in 40 days.
Shut up.
It was a chick. Yeah, no gear. She just her clothes from Georgia to Maine in 40 days.
I bet she smelled disgusting.
Well, she's having people meet them at points. Like, okay, today's a 6 mile, right? Today's 10 miles. Today's 15 miles. You meet me here, I'll be there. And they're doing the trail that way so they don't have to fucking carry anything. It's just the clothes on their back. It's speed records. I understand it. But hike your own hike.
Oh, okay.
I'm not doing that.
So they're meeting up with people who are already on the trail.
No, they're meeting up with people in cars that's got all their gear and food and water and
what?
And
I didn't know you could drive up to the Appalachian Trail like that.
There are points. Cades Cove. There are a whole lot of points where you can meet the trail. There's parking lots.
That makes sense.
It's completely irrelevant. But that chick that decided to do that had her own fucking reason for doing it. If I hike the Appalachian Trail, I want the spiritual experience of walking 2,000, 100 miles from Georgia to Maine, living my fucking life. That would be my hike. I'm not going to shit on her for doing it in 40 days and not getting the same experience. She's not living my life.
Right.
Hike your own fucking hike. Don't allow other people's shortcomings to fucking dictate your existence.
Right.
Learn from other people's failures. Mom didn't have it right. Mom is fucking not thriving in a happy marriage and she doesn't have a good man right now. Why is that? Is that even important to me?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I have to pee again. I've been drinking so much water.
We are on page 4 of 6. Let's try to get through this one and then we can take a quick break. If you can hold it that long.
I'll try.
If not, we'll take a break.
No, get up here. There we go. Yeah, there we are.
Okay. Man of the house is the last paragraph. Okay,
All
here
right.
you go.
So continuing on. So when I realize that I want a man of the house, cut that. I'm going to reread that. So when I realized that I wanted a man of the house, that I didn't have to be in charge of everything all the time, I feel like I am disappointing my mom, and that upsets me more than I know how to express.
Why? Why is that a disappointment? Because you want something that's going to make you feel fulfilled and happy?
I get that.
Why?
I get that. That's something that I carry around a lot, that guilt. That's something that I'm still processing in therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's heavy. There is a tie between mother and daughters. I don't know how to explain it.
Do you know who the Ultimate Warrior is?
No.
He was the wrestler that had like the wing painted face, almost like a butterfly, the way that he painted his face. He'd get in the ring and shake the fucking rope, and he was super energetic. Dude was like methed out the entire time. He wasn't actually on meth. He was just really high energy.
Right.
He's from the 80s and 90s. He had a YouTube channel for a very small time, and it was like Warrior Motivation or something like that before he died. And one of the things that he said was, anything that is not for you is against you, and what is against you is the fucking enemy. And you must kill that motherfucker. Like, he went hard with the video, right? This shit lives rent free in my head.
Okay.
But I believe that. Anything that is not for you is against you, and what is against you is your fucking enemy. So if you've got family members that don't want to see you succeed and be happy, they don't need to be around you.
Yeah.
This is my progress. Hiking my own hike. This is my journey, and I'm fucking thriving, and I'm loving my journey. You can keep that negativity to yourself. And if you want to poison my well in the water that I fucking drink, you got to move the fuck on, bro. Like, I'm not, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome here. The doormat says, come back with level 4 plates or a warrant. Like,
yeah,
you're either with me or against me in this life. And I want people around me that are going to help me thrive and be successful and be happy and loving and peaceful. And I want to love you enough that you can challenge my thought process from a place of respect, but we don't have to agree on everything.
Right.
And if we can respectfully disagree, I love you. You can be here. But the moment you come in here and try to destroy the things that I've built and the happiness that I have, you got to go. I don't give a fuck if there's DNA bonds there or not,
Right.
but that's a choice.
I agree.
It's rough, man.
I totally understand that disappointment. I just want to let you know that you're not alone in that. And if I find tools in therapy, I will make a video, I guess.
We'll absolutely share it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we've been doing since the beginning.
It's
Sharing the shit that helps.
Yeah. Continuing on, logically, my husband should get the final say now. I told him a while ago that I can make any place a home if I have him and our daughter. When I remind myself of this, the anxiety goes away. I must break the mold, as Peach said, and live my life without the expectations of my younger self and mom. I want my husband to take the responsibility off my shoulders so I can focus on other parts of our lives. Thank you again, Peach, for giving examples of how you oversee the house and including using coasters, mopping the floor, setting standard inside the home. Yeah. Our house is clean-ish. It's not a disaster.
Sometimes it is, and that's my fault.
But our house isn't a disaster.
I left my socks on the counter in the kitchen this morning.
Did you? Oh my God.
They're clean.
Yeah.
But it took me 13 minutes to find the fucking socks.
That's funny.
And I know it was 13 minutes because I was supposed to do something. And when I went back, I was like, man, it's 13 minutes ago. I meant to go do that. Right.
Yeah.
So that whole thing is sometimes chaos is going to happen.
Right.
But our house is not a disaster.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am a lot.
Yeah. I clean up after you.
That's okay.
I don't
appreciate
move
it.
things, but I kind of like tidy it.
Yep.
Oh. But having a standard in my house, my husband pays the mortgage, but it's my house.
It is your house. I live in it.
Yeah. I want it to be, it doesn't have to be a Better Homes and Garden magazine, but I want it to be presentable if we have guests over. It's going to look lived in. We have an animal and 2 kids. And a husband and me. I leave my knitting stuff and my plant stuff all over the place and my books. And
I actually think that I'm a bigger disruption to the household than the kids are. Because I'll get on the kids about putting their shit away. I can't get on myself about it until I realize that I had a induction burner sitting on the poker table for 3 weeks. Like,
yeah.
if I had a really boring, easy life where I didn't have to do shit.
Oh, the house would be immaculate.
I'd be a clean freak.
Oh, yeah.
No,
we're creatives. Our house will never be immaculate.
Yeah.
And I've had to accept that, which sucks because I want the Better Home and Gardens magazine house all the time. But no one would live in it if it looked that way.
No. Nope. Could you imagine the amount of conflict that would be had over that?
Oh, a lot.
In a family of 4?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Continuing on. There is a saying in the Army that officers look out and dictate where the unit will go, while NCOs look in and make sure the unit functions. That is what I am looking for. I want my husband to look out while I look in, and we both agree on that.
It's team. That's it.
That's a good way to put that.
It is a good way to look at it. A good way to put it, as you just said.
Continuing on, on a bit of a side note, I just got to the episode. This is dope. Season 1, episode 9. The emailer said she wanted to try giving up control, specifically finances, and wanted to know how to do that while still being a strong woman. Peach went into detail on how she is a strong woman. These insights helped me a lot as well. Peach doesn't do finances, but she maintains the house, her communication skills, states her opinions, knows who she is, knows her self-worth, and won't allow herself to be degraded, and practices time management. Being in charge does not make you strong. So I want to touch on being in charge doesn't make you strong. We see that in corporate situations all the time. People in leadership who are in charge who have no business being in that position, period.
There's a difference between a boss and a leader. Or a manager and a leader.
Right. All right, continuing on. Peach also said these 3 bangers. It was such a relief to hear someone say it out loud, because in my profession, you do push yourself to the absolute max, which is one of the reasons I'm leaving active duty. Being in charge of things doesn't make you a strong person. Bursting at the seams isn't strength. It just shows you push yourself to extreme levels when in your mind you don't think it's necessary.
When you do think it's necessary.
when you think it's necessary. Ah, Lilo, you little shit. Get out of here. Come here. No, you get... There we go. I'm going to reread that because I messed that up. Bursting at the seams isn't strength. It just shows you push yourself to extreme levels when in your mind you think it's necessary. Putting yourself through unnecessary stress is also self-harm in a sense.
Yeah, it absolutely is. You're choosing it.
I said those things?
It's crazy. Yeah, you did. It's crazy the amount of fucking content that we've put out in the conversations that we've had and like the in-depth, the way that things have gone. And
right.
I remember, some of the issues that I've had with the podcast is the content changed.
Yeah.
And it went from like, these are the situations that I'm struggling with to trauma dumping to like really aggressive, like nonsense. And some of it was me, some of it was us, like some of it was the emails. It was just an accumulation of nonsense.
Right.
And trying to find a way to balance the content came with the screeners and trying to find our footing and editing and things of that nature. But we've had conversations. There's shit in relationships that we have known, practiced, and forgot that's just common sense to us that we don't talk about anymore because it's just normal shit.
Continuing on, these statements reinforce that I want to dictate time looking in because I have pushed myself... Dedicate. These statements reinforce that I want to dedicate time looking in because I have pushed myself into the breaking point at work from being in charge. When I wrote my email, I was so fixated on submitting that I was making a big deal out of nothing. Damn. What a realization.
So do you think that speaks to choosing your battles?
I think that speaks to what you put your perspective on is what you put your value in.
Okay. Yeah, the perception is projection thing for sure.
Yeah.
This also speaks to working through things from an emotional mind to logic mind before having a discussion.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a hell of a statement.
That is. Good on you for being able to say that out loud.
I love update emails.
Oh gosh, me too. Me too. These are the best. These emails help solidify that we're actually doing something with the podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. Continuing on, I was letting my mom and my mother-in-law
I was letting what my mom and my mother-in-law dictate.
Those two words side by side really messed me up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
C's and D's.
How I thought I needed to act. My husband and I have talked and will continue to talk about what our life and relationship will look like when I am out and have time to focus on the home. I won't say I wasted your time, my initial thought upon the aha moment of what the root problem was, because I got a lot out of your words.
I don't think you wasted any of our time, so much so that we're now doing a follow-up email to you.
I think that first email was fantastic discussion.
This is going to create a whole lot of aha moments for other people, and that's the point.
That's the point.
The therapist that, fuck, I was supposed to email that lady back. I'm going to have to start carrying that little notepad with me.
Okay.
The therapist that we interviewed in the early stages of this said that the people that get the most benefit from our podcast are the ones who don't write in, because they're the ones who are in the situations that are going through what they're going through that don't get triggered.
Right.
They can look at it from an outside perspective and be like, I can cherry pick things that I think I can use in my relationship, and they start healing.
And it's not taken personally.
It's not personal, right? None of this is personal. We're not shit. Well, okay, sometimes we do shit on people.
Sometimes we do.
When you go 3 days without bathing your kid, that's child abuse.
That's
We're judging
child
the fuck
abuse,
out of
yeah.
you, right? That's a different scenario, but
she acting, what's she doing? Yeah. Let's see. Continuing on. Yeah, no, I don't. There are a few emails that I believe have wasted our time.
Yeah.
Especially if we believe that you were lying to get attention.
we got a lot of that in the beginning.
Right. But no, thank you so much for taking the time. Even if you email in and just emailing in helps you feel better, I'm glad that you did that.
Right, but how many emails do we get? How many comments do we get where people are like, I wrote my email and then I deleted it because I watched this episode.
Oh,
and then I wrote another email and then I watched this episode and I deleted it.
Because they had their questions answered.
Right. You guys should still send the emails though.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's going to benefit by proxy to your situation. That's the village. Right? That's the elders.
It is, yeah.
We've gone through this, and because I've overcome those obstacles, let me teach you how to not have to suffer the way I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was that? Was that a burp?
She then went on to say, thank you so much for your time. Sorry again for the insult, which it wasn't. Oh, yeah, I read The Surrendered Woman. It's the surrendered wife. This week after hearing it mentioned in the latest episode I listened to, and we started doing check-ins. Have a great day. A hopeful wife.
I don't recall if we said that was an insult in the last episode.
We probably did because it is an insulting statement, but whether or not we took it as like a fuck you is a different thing.
Yeah, I didn't take it as a fuck you.
Yeah. There's a difference between somebody being improperly spoken and being intentional. And that's where things change. Like you can make a mistake, and I'm good with mistakes.
Right.
I'm really good with that. But when you're intentional with it, it's a whole different ballgame. Like you can sneeze on me and get some spit all on my face, and it'd be an accident. I'll be okay. You spit on me, it's a whole different ballgame. That's how I view that, right?
Yeah. If you sneeze in my proximity and it was just sneaking up on you, didn't have time to cover your face.
Shit happens.
I'm sorry, homie. No, you're good, bro.
Right.
But it doesn't even have to be in an argument. If you're a random person and spit on me in the street.
Mm-hmm. That was a good one.
Right in the throat. We'll learn how to roundhouse kick specifically right there.
All right, so then let's wrap up. So for all of you who have been helped by the podcast, if you've submitted emails and we've read them, please send us an update. We absolutely want to know how life has changed for you, what it looks like, new struggles that you're going through, things that we could potentially help you with. If you are not a member of our Patreon, we highly recommend that you go over there and check that out. That Discord community is a whole fucking village of people that are here to help and guide and grow, and amazing people. With that being said, guys, remember you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.